Hello, everyone. Apologies for the delay. I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes for everyone to join from the waiting room. Perfect. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, depending on where you're joining. Welcome to the second session of our Girls Human Rights Hub summer program, the Virtual Work Experience. My name is Silvana, and today we're joining for our second session, Pro Bono and Corporate Social Responsibility in Law Firms. We're joined here by Annabelle, who will be our speaker, and Safia, my co-moderator, will share a bit more about her expertise. Thank you to everyone who joined on this second day, and I hope you have a very good session. Safi?
Hi everyone, I'll be telling you a little bit about Annabelle. So Annabelle is a pro bono and social impact coordinator at Clyde & Co., a leading global law firm committed to responsible business. She supports the firm's global strategy across the UK, Europe, Americas, APC, and MEA regions, coordinating pro bono legal work, volunteer engagement, and partnerships that expand access to justice and strengthen community impact. With a background in law, politics, and political theory, Annabelle brings a critical and inclusive approach to advancing social justice, both within and beyond the legal profession. Her past work includes leading award-winning initiatives with HSBC and supporting organizations like Big Brother, Watch, and the Institute of Race Relations. As a public speaker and digital educator, Annabelle has built a platform of over 250,000 followers and 7.1 million plus likes, using her voice to empower others and drive change on issues ranging from human rights and anti-racism to gender and equality. So thank you so much for coming, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. It is so lovely to be here. Oh, can everyone hear me? Yep. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to just, first of all, introduce what pro bono and social impact is, but also explain my journey and what it's like working for a law firm where one of our key strands is absolutely supporting equitable pipelines and futures for young women and young people all over the world, but also advocating for their equal rights and their access to justice. So I have a short presentation, so I'm just going to share my screen. Let's see if that works. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Perfect, yeah.
Yep, okay, perfect. So to start off with, I'll just go over a little brief agenda. So first we're going to talk about, Perfect. So first we're going to talk about sort of what the team and the structure is like here at Clyde & Co. So as it was said before, I work within the pro bono and social impact team, and that sits within the wider responsible business team at Clyde & Co. And then I'm just going to explain that, but then I'm going to go into what actually pro bono work is and what we do at the firm and what it means to say you are partaking in pro bono work. Then I'm going to give you all some examples of the work that I've been involved in, but also the work that Clyde & Co sort of pioneers. Then I'll go into what social impact work is, which is distinct but very, very related to and integrated with pro bono work. And then I'll go into some of the examples of our social impact work. And then I'll go into the firm's specific strategy and how we support young people, young women as part of that. Yes. So, in terms of the team structure, we are headed by a global head and the manager of the UK, Europe, and APAC region, and that is someone called Caroline Loving. She's a solicitor by trade, and one thing you will notice is that in a lot of pro bono work, well, almost all pro bono work is done by legal professionals. So whether that is sort of lawyers or that's paralegals or chartered legal executives, each and every one of us have some formal training, some formal background, or are training to be lawyers or legal professionals. So within Clyde & Co, we are separated out by region. And I think that's a really, really good way of separating out pro bono work because we are able to understand the cultural and the political nuances in each of the work that we do. So we have three different regions that we cover, and that is the Americas, which includes North America and sort of South America, Latin America. And that is done by someone called Claire Butler, who's also a solicitor by trade. Her background is in international human rights law. She worked for the government and then she came to sort of work for Clyde & Co. Then we have Latoya, who covers our UK and Europe region more specifically. Her background is also a fee earner within Clyde & Co, and then she moved into pro bono work. And then we have Halima, who is currently on maternity leave, so she's just being covered by somebody else who's also a lawyer. But Halima is not a lawyer, but she is a legal professional, and she covers the sort of social impact pro bono work for the Middle East and Africa. So I am a coordinator, and I'm a global coordinator, and I support them more sort of widely. So my role has a global remit. My role is to help sort of push forward, coordinate, ensure that each of the projects that we do at Clyde & Co works and it is running week by week. So we split it out, whether that's a clinic and we're going down in partnership with a university or a charity or a local food bank or a centre and we're delivering pro bono legal advice, or we can partake in longer term casework projects where we're working on a huge case and our lawyers are volunteering their time to review documents and a whole range of different things. But I'll get into that a little bit later, but that's just to sort of give you the overview structure of that. And then in our team, we also have a couple of trainee solicitors. So at Clyde & Co, one of the seats that you are able to do is a pro bono and social impact seat. And as part of that, you would either get seconded, so you take some work experience at one of our pro bono partners, and that is our global partner is UNICEF, and then our one of our other partners is Not Beyond Redemption, and I'll explain what those charities do and what we do with them a little bit later. But part of what we do with them is to send across a trainee solicitor to help them with their day-to-day legal work. So the first question I would love to throw across to all of you guys is, what is pro bono work? What do you think it is? If you could define it in like a sentence, what would that be? Feel free to raise your hands or use the chat function. Yeah. Yes. Is it Srila? Srila Shimi? Please feel free to unmute yourself.
Whoever wants to speak, please raise your hand and we'll hand you the floor if you want to answer by voice.
I think there's a raised hand. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, I see some more. Alice or Madeline?
I'll give to Srilaksh.
Hello.
Hiya.
Pro bono work, like to my understanding, is work that's provided free of charge. So often that's to people that can't pay for it. But it's a way of like law firms being able to almost like have charitable impact without like giving money. It's about providing services to people that really need it but can't pay for it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your answer. Does anyone else have anything else to add on to that? But I think that was a really comprehensive answer. No? Well, thank you so much for answering. And you are absolutely correct. Pro bono work is the provision of free legal advice or representation, and that is without expectation of a fee by legal professionals for the public good. So in terms of who can do pro bono work, as I said before, any legal professional employed by or working in the firm is able to perform fee earning work for clients. And so pro bono work, anyone can undertake pro bono work for anyone because it's just the idea of giving free legal advice. But as a law firm, there is a strict criteria as to who you can give free pro bono advice to, and that is decided by the law firm itself in understanding of what is what are the pillars, what we're trying to do, what kind of community investment, what kind of impact are we trying to have, and that's how we understand who we're going to be giving pro bono advice to. So here that is low income individuals, not-for-profit organizations, humanitarian, cultural, environmental or social not-for-profit organizations, pro bono organizations, charities, social enterprises, and then governments in developing countries or other non-governmental institutions where paying for legal advice would be a significant barrier. So those are sort of our criteria as to who we give pro bono work to. And in terms of the kinds of pro bono work that Clyde & Co do, it is a range of things. And obviously understanding the theme of the presentation here today is what we are doing to empower young women and, build equitable futures. I'd like to highlight, I think, two. So the first one is we have a UCL Integrated Legal Advice Centre, and that's called the UCL ILAC Form Filling Project. So in terms of this pro bono project that we do, one thing that I will say is that pro bono work is so collaborative. All the time we are working in partnership with other people. As you understand, Clyde & Co is a corporate law firm, so a lot of the legal expertise of our lawyers is very corporate focused, it's very contentious, it's very sort of business focused. And for a lot of our pro bono work, it's people focused, it's community focused. And a lot of our lawyers and legal professionals don't have the legal expertise or experience in these areas. So what do? We partner with organizations who do, and we use our skills and our resources for good. So for example, the UCL project, we work in partnership with a charity called the Magpie Project. And this charity supports young mothers and women who either are pregnant or have children under the age of 10. And we support them because if they are pregnant or they have children under the age of 10 and they're also either homeless or on the verge of homelessness. And what we support them in doing is getting them off the street, building their English, their literacy skills, appealing council decisions which have caused them to be homeless, helping them secure housing benefit, child benefit, credit for their children, even things as simple as, something which helps them buy baby formula and like things for their kids and stuff like that. So what we do with that is we have a weekly clinic where we'll have the mothers and the children all go by. In that clinic, we have a section where our lawyers are giving pro bono advice to the mothers. We also have a section where some of our professionals who may not be lawyers are working with the young children and they're teaching them, they're holding a creche, and then we have a whole range. It's just a really collaborative environment because the mothers are receiving the help that they need, the children are supported, and we are working in tandem with the Magpie Project, and then the space and a lot of the legal advice is supervised by UCL, the university. So that allows for our lawyers to give this advice, but also be supervised by a lawyer whose specialism is in housing law, community welfare law, social welfare law. And it also means that they are learning things. So that's the first thing. We also work with Not Beyond Redemption, and that is also a sort of legal charity or a legal NGO which works on supporting young women and young mothers specifically in who have been sort of in and out of the criminal justice system. And as a result of that, they've been separated from their family, whether that's due to location moves or due to family problems and all of that kind of stuff. So what Not Beyond Redemption do is they work on reuniting families and reuniting the women with their families. And what we do as part of that is that we go to local prisons and we work with the mother, and we work with the women, and we work with the mothers, the young women, the teenagers, all of that, and we work on how they the sort of private family law side of things. How can we reunite them? How can we set up some visitations? How can we allow them to write letters and keep in contact with their family? And that's done through monthly clinics at prisons with Not Beyond Redemption. So here we've got our lawyers who are supporting the solicitors there, supporting the caseworkers there, but also learning a lot themselves and utilizing their legal skills in a very direct professional way to help support young women. We also, in terms of wider projects that we do, we also work with Amicus, which is a UK charity, but the charity is all about supporting lawyers out in the US who are fighting against wrongful death row convictions. So what we do here is that with this is a more project-based casework, sort of centered work. And here the lawyers will get in contact with us and we will provide casework assistance with them. So whether that's reviewing documents, we had one case where we were reviewing a legislation, but like analyzing it from a racial justice perspective. We had another example where we were trying to look through jailhouse calls and understand what the sort of dynamic of the person who had been convicted is, a whole range of different stuff that our lawyers are able to volunteer and get involved in. We also work with the Schools Consent Project, which is working on teaching what consent means across schools in the UK. Our lawyers, what they do is they'll get trained on the legal definition of consent, the Sexual Offences Act of 2003, and then they'll go and deliver workshops in schools. And yeah, so far I think we've educated over 400 students just this year alone. And I think what this provides you is just some a holistic view as to what we do, but also what our focus areas are. We are really, really inspired by and motivated by building equitable futures for the next generation. And I think our pro bono work is reflective of that. So, as I said before, I'm not only a pro bono coordinator, but I'm a pro bono and social impact coordinator, and that's how the whole team works. So, in Clyde & Co, we take pro bono work, we take social impact workers, not one and the same, but very, very related to one another, and we do this work. We do this work together. So, I have another question to throw at you guys. What is social impact work? And if you could define it, how would you define it? Please feel free to put your hand up put your hand up, please. Yes, Alice?
Yes. Let me give her the floor.
Is it work that is like focused on the greater good of community and like environment? So it's more like if you're helping out like sections of community that may need support, like old people's homes or homeless people or that kind of thing.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. Thank you so much for answering, Alice. Yeah, I have nothing to add. Social impact work is exactly that. The work which is focused more on communities. We're talking sponsored walks, we're talking marathons, we're talking exactly volunteering at old people's homes, food banks, all of that kind of stuff. So the distinction between pro bono and social impact work, put sort of plainly, is that social impact work is non-legal volunteering and it's fundraising. So that's how we define it. So pro bono work is legal volunteering, social impact work is non-legal volunteering. And we have a range of different things that we do at Clyde & Co. We've participated in the London Legal Walk, the Guildford Legal Walk, the Manchester, Birmingham one. Wherever we have an office, there will be a legal walk where we are fundraising for local legal clinics and ensuring that legal charities are well funded. But then we also have things where our professionals and our fee earners will go down to local schools and read with children, and we also volunteer with the local beekeeping associations, a whole range of different things. So yeah, social impact work is that a volunteering aspect, and you don't have to be a lawyer to do it, but we encourage all of our lawyers and all of our professionals, whether they are legal or not, to get involved. So yes, to give a couple more examples, we have charitable giving at Clyde & Co. So we have book donations, which will go around whether it's every Christmas or every Easter, and we'll just donate them to local schools. We also have a scheme which allows us to match the fundings of anybody who fundraises by themselves. So if they have a cause or an organization that they're really passionate about, we have a lot of people who are doing work for Girl Effect or for Breast Cancer UK, a whole range of different things. And if they run a marathon or they hold a big sale and they want to match the funding for that, whatever they match, the firm will double it and give all of that money to charity. So we run that initiative as well. We also have campaigns. As I said, we have a Christmas campaign. We have something called Clyde & Co Cares, which is an annual monthly campaign where we encourage every single person to get involved in some form of fundraising or volunteering. So why do we choose to get involved in pro bono and social impact work? And I think the first thing is that we as a firm have such a commercial perspective, but I think there is something in using and utilizing and leveraging that commercial perspective for the greater good and for purposes outside of commercial profit. What we see in a lot of our projects is people who don't really understand why we do this work get involved, and then they are enthralled by it, they are enthused by it and really passionate about it, because it allows you to see beyond yourself and to see really and truly how your work and how pro bono work in a law firm, but also in collaboration with charities, really has a big impact. And we always say that pro bono work isn't a replacement for an equal society. It isn't a replacement for charities, but it is to support the charities in doing what they're doing. We understand that the not-for-profit sector, the NGOs, they are the experts in what they're doing. And in pro bono work, what we do is we support them. We support them through our funds. We support them through our resources, through legal minds, through our manpower. And it's through that we have a bigger impact. But we also recognize that all of these, a lot of these sectors tend to be underfunded. So what we are trying to do is to bridge that gap, not to replace it. We also think for the lawyers who do get involved in pro bono work, and certainly for our team, it gives you such a well-rounded experience. So whether you are considering a career in pro bono or you are considering to have pro bono as an element of your work as a lawyer or a legal professional, it gives you that well-rounded experience. It allows you to have, 9 to 5, as well as, during your lunchtime or after work or before work, you're able to do a whole range of different things and get involved in a whole range of things outside of your expertise. Like, even for myself, I have a background in human rights and social justice, but with Clyde & Co, not only do we do that, but we also do sustainability. And that's something that I've been learning as part of my role as a coordinator. How could we build more sustainable communities? We're just taking a project on, which is working on supporting the Amazon rainforest. And through that, I've been learning a lot about conservation, about human rights, about Indigenous rights, and a whole range of different things. And whether you're doing that in a volunteering capacity or you're doing that as part of your day-to-day work, as I do, it gives you that well-rounded experience. Pro bono work also gives you sort of personal development and fulfillment in work time. So we do something at Clyde & Co, which means that if you get involved in pro bono work, your time will be recorded. And as you are going for benefits and promotions and a whole range of different things at the end, people will look at how much volunteering you have done and they will credit you for that. And whilst you shouldn't do pro bono work to credit yourself, it is something to be recognized and for your time to be recorded and to have a firm that supports this. And it also allows you to build relationships internally and externally and internationally. As I said before, we have Amicus, which is an international project. We're working with criminal defense lawyers in the US. We have a partnership with European lawyers in Lesbos, where we send down our lawyers and our legal professionals to go to Lesbos and support the lawyers out there in terms of the refugees who have come by boats and helping them secure rights for themselves and helping them just, secure access to safety. We also work with an organization called Rainbow Railroad, which is a Canadian organization, and that's all about helping individuals from LGBTQ plus backgrounds in securing routes to safety within Canada, and we have our lawyers that work on that as well. These are all examples of international projects that we do. And as I said before, it gives you a chance to work in different areas of law. I think for myself, I've always known that I didn't want to be a sort of stereotypical lawyer, and I didn't really have a specific focus area. I've always been very passionate about law. I've always been very passionate about human rights and social justice. But for me, it doesn't take one shape or one sort of face. And I think what pro bono work allows you to do is that if there is a need, if there is a project, if there is something which is going wrong, there is many opportunities for people to get involved, and it means that you are constantly learning about new sectors, new regions, new issues, but also thinking proactively into how can you rectify this, what can you do to play your part, how can you galvanize groups of people in law firms for the greater good, and that good can take a whole range of different shapes. So I think that's another beautiful thing about pro bono and social impact work. And I think I would also say it gives you a lot of client contact at a junior level. As I said before, I am a coordinator, and just to provide a little bit of background about myself, so I began my sort of journey in 2020, I would say, where I definitely was galvanized to start speaking out against racism after my town was one of the only towns to hold anti-Black Lives Matter protests. And as a result of that, a member of my family was actually physically abused. And we witnessed the polarizing sides of how inequality, of how racism, of how injustice really comes out as violence. And it was from that I was really, really galvanized to speak out against it. And obviously it was COVID, so I was at home and I didn't really know what to do. I had all of this fire and I didn't really know where to put it. And what I did was I created a social media, and I started my social media just speaking about my story. I started speaking about why it's important for people to really think, just think about lives outside of your own, and think about how, although the UK, it seems as though everything is equal and it seems as though we've progressed as a society, horrible things are still happening and we need to hear about it. And I started with my own story, and then it grew into not only my own story, but stories around the world, whether it was near or it was far, all educating people about inequality around the world, but also what we as young people can do about it, whether that's sharing or it's reposting, whether that's understanding how we can play our part as advocates, as activists, as friends, as teachers, as educators, but also how we can stay in the know about all of this stuff that is happening, so we can carry this, so we can, in conversations, in school, in works, in social circles, that we carry these other people's stories with us so we continue fighting for them. And fast forward 5 years from that, it grew into a community of 250,000, where every single time I'm showing up on social media, I'm not talking about myself, but I'm talking about something that people need to educate themselves about, but also trying to connect them with organizations that are doing this work, or organizations who need awareness, or organizations that need the help. And I think for me, going into one sort of not the stereotypical legal career, but also going into pro bono work, was a way for me to take my passion for championing the most marginalized, championing the people that have no voice, and not only building awareness, raising awareness, and advocating for their cause, but also sort of building proactive and collaborative partnerships which are working to fight for them in their everyday life. I'm not saying you need to be a social media advocate or a digital activist to get into this space, but I am saying if you are very passionate about something, and you are somebody who has a firm foundation of what the values are and what the world should look like, and you are someone who is creative, you are someone who is proactive, you are somebody who wants to leverage the law and wants to use it creatively, maybe as opposed to practice. Because although I said a lot of our team are qualified professionals, this a lot of pro bono work isn't a fee earning role. What you are doing is coordinating. What you are doing is bringing the lawyers to the places. You are running the clinics. You are building out these partnerships. You are getting involved in a lot of different things, and a lot of it can be policy, it can be project management, it can be strategic partnerships, it can be sort of coordination, it can be sort of a whole range of different things. And if you are somebody who thrives in that role, but also thrives with a way to apply your legal knowledge in a way which is different. So as I said before, I started in law. I did my undergrad in law and politics, and then I did a master's in political theory and intellectual history, but I did a specialism in human rights and anti-racism and all of that kind of stuff, and decolonization. And then I'm currently studying the bar alongside this role. So I do the bar on the weekends and I do this role full time. And even though I'm working in this role, it's a really nice way for me to apply the legal knowledge and the legal training that I'm learning at bar school, but apply it in different ways and different mechanisms. I say this because I think the advocacy of the bar and the structure of the bar is really, really helping me. And, how can we develop partnerships with, local law schools where we're teaching young women how they can advocate for themselves in different ways? How can we hold mock trials? But then also, how can we apply the sort of black letter law and the more textbook stuff into the work that we're doing as well? So yeah, I hope that provides a bit of a background about me and what I do, but also how it's wonderful for, I think, human rights to be such a huge, I would say, like, framework system of rights where you can apply them, you can use them in very different ways. And I think once you have that passion, it takes a life of its own. I would say, like, my role is about 50% pro bono and then 50% social impact. And this allows me to take my passion for human rights and apply it not only legally, but in a whole range of different ways. I'm creative, I have my social media, and I apply that in my role as well. So, yeah. So in terms of Clyde & Co. and what we do, so oftentimes our pro bono and social impact work is sort of divided under focus areas, and we call this our yes sort of pillar, our yes strategies. And Y is inspiring young lives, E is equality before the law, and S is sustainability and climate change. So as you can see, each of our pillars are separated or aggregated by the relevant United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So each of them will overlap with one another, but a lot of it is through that. And what we do is we encourage our fee earners or our lawyers, legal professionals, to do a minimum of 36 hours of pro bono work. And then we have all colleagues, so everyone who's working in the firm, does 24 hours of pro bono, of responsible business work. So that is just volunteering. It doesn't have to be legal. And then that gives them sort of 60 hours to make a positive impact. Now that is a minimum, and that is sort of, we encourage them to do more if they can do more, but those are the sort of things that we do. And a lot of our pro bono work will fall under one or multiple of these pillars. And then we also have a charity partner, and with our charity partner, what we do with them is we will fundraise for them throughout the year. We'll have our colleagues and different people, whether they're partaking in marathons or they're providing legal advice, we'd encourage our main charity partner to be the recipient of it. And what we do is we change it each year, and oftentimes our charity partners are born from relationships with our staff and our colleagues. So they'll put forward a charity partner, and then the whole law firm will will vote, and then they'll get chosen for that year. This year it's Go Beyond, which is a charity who gives children and young people who have been bereaved, abused or bullied, or living in poverty, or have care responsibilities, the chance to escape their pressures. And they do this through 5-day residential breaks across the UK. And it's really amazing because these children are often living in poverty or they're suffering from neglect, and it gives them an opportunity to just be children for 5 days. And what we do is some of our we'll get volunteers that go down and support the residential breaks. As I said before, we fundraise for them. There are also opportunities to run events and a whole range of things. And as I said before, collaborative, it's a partnership. We develop and we build relationships, and we keep on with that. And as I said before, we spoke about Clyde & Co Cares, which is a global month-long campaign which takes place every year. And its aim is to raise awareness of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And what we do each year is we take a couple of goals, and then we will just sort of fundraise and champion it basically. And this year we're running it during the month of September, and our themes are life below water and life on land. Last year our theme was zero hunger, and the year before that our theme was quality education. So we have a whole range of different ways in which we are raising awareness, not just internally but externally, and just ensuring that the impact we make is in alignment with wider human rights structures. The UN Sustainable Development Goals, we are holding ourselves to account through their mechanisms. We are ensuring that the impact we have is done through that, and we just ensuring that we are covering each and every one of them through each of the years that we are doing, so we can look back and we can say, yes, we are contributing to this wider institution, this wider framework as well. So thank you so much. That has been all of my presentation. You guys have been a lovely audience.
Thank you so much, Annabelle. I do see that one question came from Sarah. Safi, shall I read this, or?
I can read it if you want.
Perfect, yeah.
So this is from Sarah. While pro bono work often involves providing personal legal aid rather than engaging in formal legal practice, how can it be leveraged as a tool to drive meaningful and sustainable systematic change?
Thank you for the question, Sarah. Okay, so legal aid is a form of funding legal work. So pro bono work isn't legal aid, or I'm not sure whether you mean legal aid, the sort of aid, like the way that legal work is funded, or you mean legal aid as in you're helping an individual. But let me take it as though if you're helping you're helping an individual. And in part of that, so pro bono work isn't just about providing personal legal aid. So what we'll say is that we have our clinics, which is about kind of personal legal support or legal representation, legal advice, where we'd help the clients who are often chosen or working with the charity, working with the organization that we're working with, and then we'd provide them legal advice. But we also have our casework, which is it can be personal, but it also can be sort of governmental or institutional. So as I said before, we're working on a case with Amicus, which is looking at the Racial Justice Act, and it's looking to, see whether it's discriminatory on its face and a whole range of different things as well. So I would say that it is the tandem of both of them which leverages and it drives the sustainable systemic change. And I say that because the personal work takes a more of a community angle. It looks at where the needs are, because oftentimes when you look at, systemic injustice and systemic oppression, it is not done through, it's not just done through laws, but it's done through the way in which laws affect different people. So as we are helping the people, we are inadvertently working to challenge the laws on a very, very micro scale. But at the same time, we are looking at those laws and we are looking at how it will affect people, or it is affecting people that maybe we haven't provided assistance to, but we can understand why, even though on its face the law may seem equitable, it may seem equal, but it's not. So I would say it's the tandem of both of those. And I think what Clyde and Co is that we are a cause-based law firm. So we aren't political in that sense, but what we are is we focus on the causes and we see what we could do to rectify those causes. So whether the cause, whether the issue is, homelessness, or the issue is lack of education, or the issue is women's safety, what we will see is where we have the resource, what we can do, how we can help. And sometimes it takes the form of more behind the scenes work, reviewing the documents, the casework, the files, supporting organizations, providing assistance to those organizations doing that work. But sometimes it can be a lot more direct. So I would say it's the mix of both of the kinds of projects and the specializations, but also the variety of work that allows us to drive meaningful, sustainable change.
Thank you. That was really good. Okay, so we've got a question from Anonymous. So are pro bono and social impact practice groups common in commercial law firms, or is it just exclusive to Clyde and Co?
So I would say most commercial law firms will have pro bono and social impact strategies and pillars, but the strategies and pillars we have is specific to Clyde and Co. But a whole range of, I would say it's different for each of them. You just decide it based off of who your audience is, what kind of impact you want to have in the communities, and on the societies that you serve, and then they'll go from that. We made sure that ours was very in line and in connection with the human rights organizations, NGOs, and just the structures. But other organizations may be a lot more community focused, or they may be a lot more direct as to the markets that they're serving as well. So yeah, it's very specific to the law firm.
Okay, I'll just go back to another Anonymous. So pro bono work is usually from legal professionals, people who study law in some way, shape, or form. So I think they're just asking you, like, who does it?
Yes, yes. So yeah, legal professionals are people who study law or practice law in some way, shape, or form. So in some of our projects, in our clinics, in our partnerships, you have to be a qualified lawyer to do so, to undertake in pro bono work. But with others, you have to have studied a specific act. You know, for the Schools Consent Project, you have to have studied the Sexual Offences Act in your criminal law module when you were at university, or you have to have completed an undergrad or a postgrad qualification in law in some sense. So a legal professional is anybody who has training, experience, expertise, or who practices the law.
Okay, next from Sophia. Hi, thank you so much for the amazing presentation. How did you get into pro bono work? What was the first step of your journey journey after sixth form and A levels?
Yeah, so I would say the very first step, also thank you for your question. I would say the very first step is volunteering. So for me, I've always been somebody who thrives in doing the most. I'm never satisfied doing one thing. I always have my hands in loads and loads of different pots. And I would say if you are interested in pro bono work and that is you, then you are in the right space. So what I did was after sixth form, during sixth form, I volunteered with my school. One of my first sort of formative trips that I took was a trip to India, where we went to a local school and we put on musicals, and that gave me a taste of like what volunteering looks like, but also what the coordination aspect of everything looks like too. After sixth form, I went to university. At university, I got involved in the refugee law clinic. I got involved in positions of responsibility in my student union. I got involved in student societies. I got involved in street law clinics. I got involved in vacation schemes, internships, just a whole range of different ways to volunteer. For my master's specifically, what I was doing was I did my master's, and then 1 day a week I worked for a refugee law organization, and I was helping them as a caseworker. I did that for a year and a half. I was also volunteering for different NGOs, whether that's from a social media aspect, or that was from a legal aspect, or it was from a sort of administration duty aspect, just any way that I could give my time for free. That's what I did. And I recognize that that's a really privileged position to have, but a lot of organizations will sort of give you back how much you spend in travel and food each of the days that you're there. So I would definitely look into that if you can. So getting into pro bono work requires you to do pro bono work. So as a law student, I study law. As a law student, I was just getting involved in as much as I can. And then once I was involved, I was trying to see ways in which I could really add value. Can I help you with this? How was your social media? Or how was this? Or how was that? And just like taking on these little positions of responsibility, whether it's for an event or it's for a case or it's for a project, it allowed me to have more to talk about and to keep my ear close to the ground so I know sort of what the opportunities are in pro bono work. And yeah, that was how I was able to apply to this role and like have the experience and everything, all to do with that. So I would say get involved, get active, get there.
Really nice advice. Okay, so for a question from Chloe. In what ways do you find that pro bono work and social impact work are connected? Do you think you can have one without another in the law firm?
So I think that's a really good question. Some law firms only do pro bono work, and they sort of do their social impact work through just giving money to charities. In my perspective, I think you have to do pro bono work alongside social impact work. And I say this because I am very cognizant of power imbalances and recognizing that a lot of law firms are corporate law firms. So they have access beyond their means to abundant resources, whether that's money, whether that's time, whether that's, they have access to sectors and parts of society that a lot of people outside of those, like even other lawyers and other specialisms and other, professionals don't have access to. And I think only showing up in ways in which you can leverage your legal expertise is almost, whilst it's amazing, I think it doesn't flip that power imbalance. I think for a lot of I think for the communities that we serve, we need to understand what they need and we need to meet them as to where they're at. That's why I think lawyers not only need to leverage and utilize their legal expertise, but they also need to be involved in the community. And I think social impact work allows them to be involved in the community. So as they are showing up, they're not showing up in a way which is, I am the expert, I'm the professional, I'm the one that holds the power, but they're showing up as somebody who is saying, I'm here to work, I'm here to use my hands, and I'm here to help you in however way that you need that help. And I think social impact work requires that reciprocal relationship. And sometimes pro bono work doesn't always require that, because when you need a lawyer, you need a lawyer. There's no way in which you can sit down and say, I have all of this legal knowledge, but I'm going to ask for your help. No, when you need a lawyer, you need a lawyer. And it also means that you can decide, what kind of legal advice you give. The ball is in your court. And I think for any kind of move, I think for every sort of work that is trying to work for the greater good and is trying to push society forward, it requires the who holds the power, who is the expert, who is the teacher, to be flipped on its head. And I think volunteering allows it to be flipped on its head. Now, the lawyers, the professionals are learning from the community. And I'm hoping that what they learn allows them to have a much more holistic and a much more well-rounded approach to their day jobs, as well as to their pro bono work, as well as to their volunteering. And I say this from my own experience. I do a lot of anti-racism education for schools, for organizations, a whole range of different things. And I started when I was in sixth form. I started when I was 18 years old. And the very first time I felt listened to was when I sat down and I spoke about my culture, I spoke about my community, and then I educated from lived experience as opposed to educating because I've read books. And don't get me wrong, books are very important. I know books are very important. However, I think that lived experience is important too. And for a lot of corporate lawyers who probably have never had to do this work outside of, September and Clyde and Co cares, or outside of a project that they've done, we're trying to build that lived experience, and we're trying to build that knowledge which exists beyond them and beyond their personal life. And I think social impact work ensures that you've got that, and it just improves your pro bono work as well.
Okay. The next question is from Tilly. How would you recommend someone who is studying BA International Relations to proceed in further education / internships with the goal of doing similar work within their career?
Okay, amazing. So would say I would say, although a lot of lawyers are in pro bono work, you don't have to be a practicing lawyer to do pro bono and social impact work. So I would say that. I would say the best thing to do is to get involved. If you can, volunteer somewhere. And because oftentimes what you'll see is people work in human rights and then they'll go into pro bono. So what they're looking for is knowledge and expertise and experience within the human rights world. So I would say, like, look for opportunities and experience in alignment with that. And pro bono should be like a step in your journey as opposed to being out of university and going for a pro bono role, because a lot of the, like, as I said, pro bono work is so collaborative. You can work for a law firm and do pro bono work, you can work for a legal organization and do pro bono work, you can work for the government and help coordinate pro bono work, you can work for an NGO, you can work for a charity, a whole range of different things. And I think even though pro bono is a very specific name, you can do pro bono work and pro bono coordination in other, like, without the label. So I say this in the sense of, you can go and do social sustainability, you can go and do ESG, CSR, a whole range of different things. They all are the same thing, especially if you're in a law firm, but they're just called different names. For us, we call it responsible business, pro bono, social impact. Other law firms will call it community engagement and social impact. Others will call it, pro bono, a whole range of different things. So I would say, one, educate yourself and upskill yourself in and around what the work is being done in law firms. And I would say the best way is to get involved from the charity human rights side of things, and then you can leverage it. Or if you are sort of working in any role, like say you're doing a different internship, say you've just got an internship and it's for an organization, but it's nothing to do with pro bono or nothing to do with human rights and all of that kind of stuff, volunteer on the side if you can. I would honestly, because a lot of my internships when I was fresh out of university or during university were just sort of corporate law ones or just corporate ones in general. Get involved, ask yourself, ask them, how can I volunteer? How can I get involved? All of that kind of stuff, because that's what's going to give you the knowledge and the things to talk about when you apply for jobs.
Okay. Next is from Aya. This has been fantastic so far, but how can students get involved with pro bono and any volunteer initiatives?
So I think for students, there's a lot of opportunities. So in your university, if I'm not sure how old actually, so I would say if you're at university or going to university, there will be a legal clinic you can get involved in. There will be a society, an organization you can get involved in. If there is not, Google legal organizations and you can do a lot of them are divided by specialism. So I did a lot of refugee, immigration, housing, welfare, all of that kind of stuff. If you just type in, social justice legal clinics, human rights legal clinics, community welfare legal clinics, there will be a lot in your area, especially if you're in and around London. If you're not in and around London, there will be some which are available online as well. See how you can volunteer. A lot of times you have to apply, you'll have an interview, get involved. It's basically view it like a job. If you could find an opportunity where you can get involved in 1 to 2 hours a week or one evening a week, something like that. And it doesn't have to be pro bono work. As I said before, pro bono, like the way that we change the world is by dismantling power structures which are designed to keep people who exist in different bodies down. So we take that power back. So it doesn't have to be legal work. It can just be volunteering at your local food bank. It can be volunteering at your local shelter. All of these experiences is what's going to give you the edge to get into all of these different sectors. So I would absolutely say, if you can, get involved in university. If you're not in university yet but you want to get involved right now, if is there something you can do at school? Is there a bake sale you can hold for a charity or an organization? Because that would mean you'd have to email the organization. You'd say, oh, I'm holding this, can we do this, can we do that? Then you're building those networks, those connections, which are going to allow you and which may help you in the future as well. So I would say, see what you can do in your school. Is there a bake sale you could hold? Is there an educational session, an assembly you could hold, all about, pro bono work, an organization you're interested in, a cause you're interested in? Educate yourself, because it is very easy to go into the sector believing that you know everything, but you don't. So I would say, if you are a student, focus on educating yourself and getting involved where you can. And if you're a university student, get involved.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have time for more questions?
Yeah, I think so. Just a couple more. If possible, Annabelle, just like two more.
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay, this is from Sri Lakshmi. As someone that's really involved in as someone that's really involved in charitable endeavors at the moment, how do I reach out to firms that might be operating in a similar space in their pro bono work?
So I would connect with individuals. So what you can do is, if you are interested in law and you want to know more about pro bono work done by corporate lawyers, because pro bono work can be done by a lot of different people and it's done by a lot of different legal professionals. So if you are interested in what the experiences are of people who do pro bono work side of desk, as opposed to people who do like pro bono coordination, or people who work for organizations who like human rights organizations and charities and stuff, what you can do is look up something called the pro bono recognition list. And the pro bono recognition list is a list of lawyers and legal professionals who have done over 50 hours of pro bono work across the year. They are recognized by the Attorney General and their list is put up every single year. There's about 20 lawyers, I think 40 lawyers from Clyde & Co that have been recognized, and there's a whole range of different people who are recognized yearly. Look through them, look at their experience, look at what they're doing, reach out on LinkedIn, have a conversation. I would say the best way you can reach out to law firms is through connecting with the people. And if you connect with a corporate lawyer who does a lot of pro bono work, chances are they're going to be very passionate about it. And chances are they're going to teach you, or they can teach you, how you can integrate pro bono work into your practice, even if you go into corporate law or if you go into a different kind of law. So I would say do that.
Okay, I'm just gonna do a random one now. Okay, so this is from another anonymous. To be specific with my previous question, is it common for commercial law firms to have teams of solicitors or legal professionals working solely on pro bono and social impact? I ask since I've never come across a commercial law firm that has a dedicated team like Clyde & Co.
Great question. The pro bono world is small, but I want to say it's mighty. We have over 200, no, I think it's about 180. I think it's up to 200 pro bono professionals working across the UK and the US total. In the UK, it's definitely growing. In the US, it's a lot bigger because you have to do pro bono work to qualify as a lawyer in the US. But yeah, I would say that at least sort of 60% of the top corporate commercial law firms will have a pro bono, so like pro bono at least strategy and person. That person may not be fully pro bono, like it may be a commercial lawyer who was also undertaken a voluntary responsibility to do all of that kind of stuff and coordinate it, or you'd have it sit within or an extension of your D&I, responsible business, ESG kind of thing. Somebody will coordinate the pro bono work. So is it normal to have a dedicated team? No. Is it normal to have people responsible? Sometimes it may be one person, sometimes it may be a team of two, sometimes it may be a whole range of different people. We are not the biggest in the UK. There are some law firms who have dedicated people for each pillar they do, and those people will be solicitors who undertake legal work doing it. For us, it's different coordination. So yes, it's a growing field, I would say. That's why I'm saying, you don't have to work in a formally pro bono role to do pro bono work or pro bono coordination. It's so collaborative, and there's many ways to be involved in the space without being one, a lawyer, without being two, working for a law firm. One of the people who I'm really inspired by is a pro bono policy advisor, and she works for the government. And she's, in the know. She coordinates projects. She gets involved in a whole range of different things and brings her own expertise. So yeah, it's not normal, but it is growing.
What a session. I think, Annabelle, there were a lot of questions, and I can see that there was a lot of interest, and I hope many of you who will go into law will have their time and a bit of passion to take some pro bono cases. I also did start my career journey at a nonprofit that provided free legal aid for women of domestic violence. And I can say that it really has shaped a lot of my my whole professional, I don't know, mindset. So it also helps you a lot on the way that you will deal with clients in your skills, in your soft skills, most of. So I do think everyone should be inspired by you and what you have done and what you're doing at Clyde & Co. And the law firm and your firm as well. I hope it was a very good session for you, as it was for us. Thank you for your time this morning. For everyone, we'll share the LinkedIn profile of Annabelle and her social media handles. Feel free to connect with her. And I hope that if there is any questions from any specific participant, they can reach out to you personally. Thank you.
Yes, please reach out. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Annabelle.
Bye.
Goodbye. Have a good day. So everyone, we're going now to the exercise session. I hope you had a good time and you learned a lot about CSR and pro bono work in the UK. Now, I have sent an email, but for everyone who does not have, so our assignment today is to draft a short proposal for a pro bono initiative on a girls' rights issue. Now, for everyone who doesn't have access to the Mighty Network, please let me know and drop it as a comment on the chat box, and I will add you immediately to the space that we have here. And as I said, so this is our space for the program. Here we write everything. We did the first exercise for yesterday, and this is the pinned comment here. Now, our assignment that will be done for the next 30 minutes is to draft a short proposal for a pro bono initiative on a girls' rights issue. And now it's basically you can think of you're sending something, you're the client, you're sending something to Annabelle from Clyde & Co. and you're saying to her, please take my case on a pro bono basis. Now, we are just looking for a one-pager, just 300, 500 words, and you want them to take on a pro bono initiative. And as a structure, please give out the title of your initiative. You do issue a summary, a one paragraph. What is the specific thing that you're asking for? What is the issue? Why it matters? Who it affects? And then you have another section where you propose what activities it can be done that they can take on. And then you have another thing that you do a target audience, an expected impact, and the role of pro bono support that you're asking. And it will also help a lot, like you have in your mind that this letter is going to Annabelle from Clyde & Co. I also share with her access to the space so she can also check on your answers. Now this will take on 30 minutes, and I think we can connect again in 11:40. In the meantime, I'll share a bit about organizations for those that have encountered it for the first time through this program. So the Girls Human Rights Hub, it was founded in 2023 by Safi. Safi, she's one of the co-founders with her mom, Sultana Tafadar KC, a King's Counsel, a barrister in the UK. No, so what we're doing, and I can start from this program. So this is part of our series that we're doing this summer. They're called the Girls Human Rights Hub Summer Programs. Now, we said, okay, what are we going to do this summer, and why not learn about girls' human rights? So we are doing the Girls Human Rights Hub Scholars Program, the Advocacy Program, and the Virtual Work Experience Program. All of them have a different focus and a different well, not necessarily a target audience, because the target audience interlaps a lot, but having like a different perspective, I would say, on each of the program. So the Scholars Program, we're almost done with it. I really recommend you, because we have uploaded all of the recordings for our videos, and we've had some amazing sessions on menstrual equity, on climate justice, on FGM and child marriages, on the cyberspace and protecting girls in public and online spaces, and on ending gender-based violence that we had yesterday with a Harvard professor, Professor Diane Rosenfeld. And next week we have an amazing session with Patricia Sellers, and she used to be an advisor to the ICC on gender. So we are very honored to have her. And basically this program has been a very good program. We've had professors from the Woghiren University. We had experts on trafficking. Tatiana, she was amazing, very straight to the point and comprehensive. We had a Nobel laureate. We had an Oxford professor, Professor Philippa Webb, as I said, a Harvard professor, and Patricia Seller, she's a lecturer at Oxford University, and she has had extensive international law background and expertise. And here you can find everything about them and their bios. The only thing that it will take a while to upload here are the resource materials, because we have given that type of work only to the ones that have been registered and are part of the Mighty Network specific groups. Another thing that we did this summer was the advocacy program. So for the advocacy program, the focus was mostly advocacy. We had, for those that have attended our festival in the last 2 Februaries, and I'm going to share a bit more about our Girls Human Rights Festival that we do in London every February. Is Georgiana Epure. She's a human rights gender equality activist. She is involved in several organizations. She used to be a program manager and at Girls Not Brides. And we also did a session with Laura Corriton. She's an amazing person and a human being, and she's basically the activist that made possible to end tampon tax in the UK, which an amazing success story. We had another amazing session with Paisley Mahmoud. She's a British Kurdish campaigner, and she focused a lot on advocacy tools and digital campaigns, and now she does this for her job. And we were honored to be joined by Mandy Sangiero. She has won a lot of awards. She's an amazing philanthropist, and she shared a lot of how we can lobby and to influential people, mostly those that are working in the parliament, your MPs, your people in municipalities, and basically, basically on a lot of things on how you can think and shatter those type of shy feelings. And if you have an issue, feel free to reach out to them. And today we are closing this advocacy program with Dame Tessie Anthony de Nassau on focusing on media advocacy and campaign presentation. If anyone wants to join, please drop me an email after this session. This will happen at 3 p.m. today and London time. She's a former princess, and she's like has had an amazing experience in a lot of like different fields. So this is the summer program that we do as part of the Girls Human Rights Academy. Now, if here you can find everything related to girls' human rights. If you want to learn about any specific issues, you go to the Scholars Hub, and here you can find our 12 human rights issues affecting. If you want to learn about right to climate justice, right to education, you just click to read more, and let's say right to online safety. You can learn about different types of human rights violations that happen, and then you can also check on the international legal framework for any of the issues, what you can do if you want any ideas and if you want to go into this word, in this type of word, and also on resources. And here you can click and it goes to the to take on the link. It will be populated more, and basically the idea of the Girls Human Rights Academy is to be a place where you can go in and learn everything about, you get knowledge, you get advocacy, leadership, young lawyer, and then there's also the space for those that wants to get more involved in law. And these 3 programs are happening because of that. As I was sharing a bit that, and if you have been involved with our other programs, we have mentioned that this February we are launching the Make February Girls Human Rights Month campaign. It's a campaign that it's pioneered by us, incepted by us, and it's a call to all the institutions and countries to dedicate a full month to make February the dedicated month for Girls Human Rights Month. And basically we're lobbying, we're talking to organizations, we're calling for people to promote this, to share on their social media, to ask for schools, universities, nonprofits, law firms, businesses to host any event during the month of February. Here, if you go to, as I said, on our work, Girls Human Rights Month, here you can find all the steps that you can take to join this campaign. And I would really call for you to check on everything. You click here, and then you can share you can sign a petition, you can host an event in February, you can lobby for official recognition, and then you can use and share the Girls Human Rights Month toolkit. Everything will be hyperlinked. And here you have 10 events and 10 ideas that you can think about to do during the Girls Human Rights Month event. If you are in London, we do have 2 amazing opportunities. One of them is the Girls Human Rights Festival. This February is going to be the 3rd year that we're going to do it. And for the Girls Human Rights Festival, it's a series of days, and usually we do it from Monday to Friday, where we focus on advocacy, law, leadership, lobbying, and everything. Last year we've had a chance to do events at Hogan Lovells, Field Fisher, the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, which will also hosting another time this year. And yeah, I call you to like check on the photos and everything that we've had from the past few times. The tickets for the festival will open on the beginning of September. We have limited tickets for none, because the way that the organization works is that we have our own community, which are members, mini hubs. And again, maybe if you'd like to become a mini hub member, or if you want to establish a mini hub in your community, go at dghrh.org and mini-hubs. Mini hubs are basically our Swifties. So if you like Taylor Swift, these are our group of people, and yeah, we have already in more than 10 universities and 10 schools that we have established and that are working on. So we have at Mulberry School, Queen's College, London, Kingston. Those are like schools, a couple of our schools. And then we have on universities at the Aston University, Cambridge University, Essex. We also have some others that have recently joined from Oxford University, Royal Holloway University, and another university in Canada. And basically, you get a lot of perks for joining as a mini hub. You get free tickets or discounted tickets for our festival and for our awards show. Yeah. And you get, even for these programs, if you were a member, you got discounted tickets and in some occasions also free tickets because we have some sort of allocated tickets for our own mini hubs. And yeah, and given that you have registered to our programs, you are automatically part of our newsletter list, and we will surely share about these for the festival and for the Girls Human Rights Month in more detail. And something else is the Girls Human Rights Awards. So this February is going to be the second time that we're going to host. I really call for you to check on the categories. And then if you have someone, or even if you yourself have worked in girls' human rights and you feel that you are eligible and you can be potentially a winner in any of these categories, I call you to apply in any of the sections. But please do promote, do share in your social media, do share with potential people that might be interested. And this will be hosted in London in February 2026. So I do want you to go to our hub constantly. We share our blogs, we have podcasts, we share a lot of resources here because the idea, it's not supposed to be a website, but it's supposed to be a hub. So people do need to interact with it. It's a work in progress. If you feel that there is anything that might needs to be improved, to drop us an email. The email is the one that we've been interacting with each other, admin@ghrh.org. And yeah, you have here statistics and our legacy sponsors and partners. Okay, so this is all. Let me see if I have any comments. Doesn't have the virtual work experience. That doesn't seem to work. Okay, so most of the questions are related to the girls' human rights team. Now, let me see. Share here. Okay. Can someone maybe put it as a comment? Let me see if I can put it as a comment. This link on the chat box. So if you go here to the 3 points and you go on share, and then you go here. Let me see. I can also like put it on the comment. Let me see. What I can do is for everyone, I can type the I can type the link of the session and the link of the Mighty Network. So just let me know then if you get access to it. Anissa, I send it to you. Meg, I sent it to you. Helena, I send it to you. Sri Lakshmi, I send it to you. And yes, Madeleine, if you can also send it to me on the email. Okay. So again, if you're on the hub and if you're here on the virtual work experience, here you find the assignment. So it's on the chat, it's on the feed, and then it says assignment here. But again, feel free to like also send on email if it works. I'm gonna like leave it this as a shared slide. Sorry. So for everyone who is asking, so if you have done the assignment, if you have access to the Mighty Network, so here where you see the assignment draft or short proposal, here are the Gross Human Rights Virtual. You might have also as a comment a bit below, but I find it to be here. You basically put it here as a comment, or then you might click here, add photo or file. And then if this doesn't show up, please send to me by email at theadmin@ghrh.org, and I can we can go through it. I hope everything is going well. We might give 10 more minutes or 8 more minutes, and we can come in at 11:40. Yeah, if anyone is having any issues, just drop a message, please. Yes, Sienna has put it, Tilia has put it here as well. For anyone who doesn't have access to the Mighty Network, just drop me an email after this session and I will manually add you to it. The way that the Zoom and also the Mighty Network works is that I've added there the emails that you have registered during the program. So if you would sign in even on Zoom on the webinars or also on the on the Mighty Network with another email, it doesn't work. So also for those that do not get the Zoom links automatically, please, let's say if for the next sessions tomorrow you haven't received any Zoom emails, drop me an email today, and I will send you the links to all of the other sessions coming on the next few days. Just so it doesn't you don't miss a couple of more minutes. Okay, I see that people are posting. Perfect. We'll wait five more minutes. And also on the chat box, feel free to make an introduction. Tilly, thank you. Will respond to this and share your LinkedIn account. It'd be good to connect with each other. And yeah, you'll find the members here as well. I'll also make another call for the people there are more to register. So we already have 9. Thank you, Tilly. Maybe we can start. And for whoever you can drop in your assignment a bit later. Una, do you want to speak on your assignment, or do you want me to read it? let me know either raise your hand or drop a comment. I have here Una de Reyes. If you could read it for me, that would be great. Okay, perfect. Okay, so maybe that's Carla. Okay, so issue summary. So she has said, let me see if there is any more comments. Carla. So the issue summary of Carla is that feminine hygiene is expensive, and whilst the tampon tax was abolished in Britain on January 1st, 2021, no longer VAT rate on the products, the items still remain expensive and are not easily affordable by a large number of girls. Now, this matters because menstruation is not by choice, and every female is born with this, and it's part of being a woman, and there is often not enough support around this area, and girls should be able to access these essential products. Now, this affects not only low-income families and young women and girls who are not working and in education. Okay, this affects those of a low income. Although it is an essential, these products can come lower in the hierarchy of needs below accommodation, food, education, transport. And proposed activities of Carla says that there needs to be a legal right to free access to feminine hygiene resources. These products could be made available through GP health centers, places of education, and collected from communal spaces such as libraries, supermarkets, or town halls. Amazing initiative. The target audience should be all teenage menstruating girls on the lower income brackets, and expected impact is less shame around the area of female hygiene and supporting girls' women's basic need. Now, role of the pro bono support, there is no compensatory profit for legal wins or free legal advice, and advocacy support will be required to push this bill through the parliament. Amazing. And schools and health centers can speak up on behalf of their communities and actively raise awareness and stress the importance of this basic need. Very good. Thank you so much. And it's very good, Carla, that you acknowledge that this is not something that can be necessarily tackled by a law firm. So this is something that you would have to go to the parliament and have this as a policy rather than directing your needs to, I don't know, to like raise a suit towards like any specific entity. Thank you very much. So Zara, would you like to deliver your solution, or can you please put it on your comment, or shall I do it? Okay, I'll do it. And whoever wants to read, and the next one, for example, is Sophia, and whoever wants to read, just please raise your hand and I will give you the floor. So, no worries, Sarah. Thank you so much. So Zara is her right to learn, empowering every girl with access to an education. So Zara says, according to Plan UK, over 129 million girls globally do not have access to basic education. Barriers include poverty, conflict, and lack of infrastructure, but also prejudiced gender norms. Now, this leads to female underrepresentation in, this leads to female underrepresentation in leadership positions, political and economic decision-making processes, keeping us in the patriarchal society. Not only this, keeping us in access to sexual and reproductive education for young girls also means they cannot make informed decisions about their bodies, relationships, and future. Now, your initiative, Zara says, that the following action is taken. 8 individual cases asking for financial support or funding towards education in places lacking infrastructure. Access to right education workshops for young women and workshops on consent and sexual violence law, collaboration with schools, shelters, and non-governmental organizations. Encourage and enforce compulsory education laws, especially for girls. It's very good. So you are trying to like focus on raising an awareness and advocacy. It's very, very good. This initiative aims to combat harmful such as cultural norms and gender stereotypes that encourage young women, and the role of pro bono, and the role of the pro bono, and the role of the pro bono support. They would support as free advocacy support. They would so they would do the work of activists and students who participate in the workshop, focus on rights education and sexual education for young girls. As well as this, legal work by lawyers would be useful to encourage and enforce the compulsory education laws on an international level, and aid places, communities, organizations like an infrastructure, and asking for financial support. Wow, like a very good proposal. And you have taken it to like another level, so not only domestic, but asking for like international law, synergies between different institutions. It's not impossible. Like there are a lot of nonprofits or charities or law firms that do go for this type of international advocacy and like supporting either local initiatives like this one, because it is the idea that even the butterfly effect, even the small flap of the butterfly wings could potentially like bring some change in another part of the world. So thank you, Zara. We have Sophia. Sophia, let me see if you have said if you wanted to speak. Madeleine, okay, you have emailed the work. Okay, perfect. Sophia, would you like to say on your proposal, or do you want me to read it? I do not have no worries. Okay, Sophia, again with education. Education is one of the core rights, and unfortunately it's one of the rights that does get the most violations in across countries. Education for women and girls, reducing gender-based violence. The issue that this initiative aims to tackle is violence against women and girls. This is an important issue to tackle because for too many women and girls suffer and even die at the hands of men, especially in a domestic setting. The proposed activities are support individual cases and helping victims of domestic abuse assault get legal help if they want to press charges or leave their situation. This could include giving women and girls legal representation against abuse if they cannot afford it, or giving women in abusive marriages help navigating the divorce process from a legal standpoint. Very good. Collaborating with local schools to speak to young boys and girls. That's also a very important thing to do. This could include showing legal repercussions of violent actions. Work could also be done with young girls to educate them on the early signs of an abusive partner. And supporting shelters for victims of violence to stay in if they are not safe in their homes, if they have become homeless because of living in an abusive situation. Young girls and women can benefit from this initiative as we provide spaces for victims as well as legal help. They can also benefit from a collaboration with local schools in spotting early signs of abusers. Should prevent and reduce, initiatives should prevent and reduce harmful behaviors from perpetrated through educating young boys. And this would need pro bono support as it can remove barriers such as money or accessibility for women and girls that may prevent them seeking help or legal advice when they find themselves in abusive situations or having been victims of assault. Thank you so much, Sophia. As I mentioned before, I want to shout out to the Center for Legal Civic Initiatives here in Albania. I did start my career as soon as I graduated from law school there. For 1 year, I did some legal cases. I assisted the lawyers of the center there. It was very weird for me being raised in the capital and not having some sort of like contact with especially the rural women and girls, and also the city girls, but I did not have that sort of contact to see that how women and girls were subject to not just physical abuse, but also economical, psychological, economic abuse. And this type of entities that do provide free legal aid are very, very important, and not just to be there for in the cases that the victims of domestic violence cannot afford, because here in Albania, for example, and in also other countries, is that if you are a victim of domestic violence, even if you have money, you have the right to take into the free legal aid. Because like you're a specific vulnerable marginalized group, but also they do an amazing work in advocacy and influencing policy making. So it's very good if you're starting early in your career, and if you can find these law firms or like and nonprofits, and you can get involved with them, you learn a lot. Thank you so much, Sophia. And then we have Maria on education without fear, legal advocacy for girls after gender-based violence. Maria, would you like to, let me see. I'd love to speak. Yes. I'd rather have none mine read aloud. Yes, Alexandra, I can speak. That's perfect, Maria.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect, thank you.
So my proposal is basically for girls who have experienced rape or gender-based violence, and especially how they reinstate after that into schools, because many times they are reinstated into the same school where the perpetrator of that violence is, or even they are sent to pupil referral units, but those places do not meet their educational or psychological needs. So that's why in the proposed activities, I've put legal casework clinics to offer free legal representation, both in terms of the criminal case, if they want to raise one, but also for reinstating them in a proper educational environment. Then it's important also to have holistic case reviews where there is different people in charge of the same case, so lawyers, psychologists, school officers, safeguarding officers. Then also it's important to have specific guidance for schools and social workers where they are trained into how to respond legally, psychologically to a student that has experienced gender-based violence. And then there would be strategic litigation and policy reform, which is more at the government and wider societal level. And then in terms of the target audience, it would be for girls in the UK who have experienced rape, sexual assault, or other forms of gender-based violence, and who are normally excluded from safe education. So this would be girls foster care, asylum seekers, girls who are living in poverty or close to poverty. So the expected impact would be that no girl is left without schooling or without education. And why it's important for pro bono support here is because many of these families cannot pay for a proper lawyer or support service. And especially in education law, it's not mandatory to have a lawyer for exclusion panels or things like that. So that's why pro bono legal work is really important.
Thank you very much. As I said, education is one of the key girls' human rights issues. And it's very good that you have found that, or you have proposed more that more actors be involved. So not just law firms, but
Yeah. Yes.
different groups, so they can work towards this very holistically, I would say. Thank you so much, Maria. Alexandra, so your comment is there, and we will allow that for everyone who would like to make to see it. I have here the Q&A that I'd love to speak if we get there by the end. Sri Lakshmi, let me see if you're, yeah. I can read yours. We also have a couple of minutes left. So and maybe we can continue like this. If anyone else wants to read after Sri Lakshmi, please drop a comment. For everyone else, you can check whatever thing is there. I'll also put the ones, if I have the permission, but for the ones that I have sent to me by email, I'll put it here. And it'd be very good if you go and check also the other people's proposals. And it would be very good to also understand what do your fellow members that are from all around the world think that would be a good initiative to be taken in a girls' human rights issue. Sri Lakshmi, do you want to speak? Yes, perfect. I'll give you the floor. Thank you very much, Maria.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So the issue I chose to focus on was legal advice for estranged girls. And this is because like there's a lot of dedicated support for people who are in like pretty specific situations. But I think quite a lot of the time something that gets overlooked is people that just don't have like the familial support. So and this is really important because especially for like understanding like once you leave school or something and you're no longer like strictly dependent on your parents, understanding your entitlement to like housing situations, monetary entitlement, division of family assets if someone dies, or if you're estranged because you left and you have siblings still in the house, understanding like how to connect with them, custody arrangements, that kind of thing, is a very, very complex world. And even though like if you go to like a shelter, you can ask to speak to a legal professional, it's just not abundant enough service to meet all the demands. So I thought targeting this specifically could be quite impactful. So the activities that I suggested were initially like free legal clinics, very similar to the one that she was talking about earlier, that Miss Woghiren was talking about earlier. So that's like you can publicize them in schools. You can say like this is like what's going on, because often the issue with estrangement is people aren't really aware of it. So if someone's like homeless, or if someone's like clearly not in a stable familial situation, it can be quite clear. But with something as complex as estrangement, it's not always obvious. People might still be in education while being estranged. So publicizing it in schools would really get it out there. So young girls can just come and ask about like housing, monetary entitlement, things that you do need a legal background to understand, because a layperson can't necessarily make sense of all the legal guidance on these issues. And then the second activity that I recommended was for really complex cases, having legal mentors. And this is because a lot of the time family law is quite a messy area and it can drag on and on and on. So something that's quite important is having that continual support in terms of like being able to touch base as things progress, because it's one thing getting initial legal advice, but something that people quite often feel left by the wayside is that like they're not able to continually access that support. And so the third thing was providing assistance with English comprehension and education, primarily because you need to be able to advocate for yourself like very succinctly and very clearly, but also because it's a supplement to education. So in these situations, if a person is having to take like a lot of control over their own life, education can fall by the wayside. And that's the biggest predictor of how well or how badly you'll do in life if you don't have a solid education. So that's really impactful. And the reason that I like looked into this specific issue is because it does disproportionately affect those of us from like BAME backgrounds or people from lower socioeconomic status. And that just creates another level of inequality, because if you start off somewhere like this at 18, it's much harder to progress on an upwards trajectory versus if you've had a good start in life. So that's something I really hoped for with the impact. And then just the last question, the role of legal advisors. So I think there's a lot of, like I've mentioned, social support, like there are shelters and there's places to get food. But when navigating something as complex as the legal system, you can't get better than the clarity offered by a professional. And especially if you start off with bad legal advice, it's impossible to navigate the system. So you do need that sort of solid professional backing in place. And so I thought that was a really good application of pro bono work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You've touched into like a very, very, very good a very good point and very good topic. I do think that, and especially in this time of age, like a lot of focus is put in gender-based violence or violence will not going to that. Sometimes even just something like understanding how taxes work, understanding the financial responsibilities you have as a young adult, uh, understanding that what happens when you basically might not have a home, or thinking that maybe in some countries like the UK, where there are some social benefits that you get as a vulnerable group of people, sometimes the young girls or even young men, maybe they do not understand what they are getting from the government or like from the system. So I do think, and I would really promote that you go in more details and understand, like, if you can push this even with us or with another nonprofit. And I think it's such a good initiative to understand and see that if more light can be shed into this situation, homelessness or near homelessness is a condition in very high numbers in this time of age. But thank you, Shilakshmi. It was very, very good proposal. Okay, we have time for one last one. If I would love to speak, Meg, perfect. Just let me see. As I would have it, Meg, perfect. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So mine is community impact empowering women and girls through legal advice, because women and girls are disproportionately affected by financial and housing challenges, especially due to, for example, maternal discrimination, domestic abuse, lack of education, etc. And in particular, that can manifest through, for example, debt, lack of financial literacy, and often threaten homelessness in disadvantaged communities. So my initiative would help to alleviate that by working closely with citizens advice bureaus, who provide key legal advice to communities on the ground, but who also struggle for staff and funding. So in particular, often citizens advice bureaus are often unable to offer face-to-face appointments due to a lack of staff availability, and that can leave many people without support, particularly women who may be unable to receive phone or email appointments due to domestic violence, for example, or it also means that issues can take longer to resolve as not all documents can be analysed as quickly, or not everyone has access to Wi-Fi and internet services. So consequently, through pro bono initiatives providing kind of essentially loaning lawyers and professionals could really help with this, as they could either act as additional staff offering face-to-face appointments themselves or supporting citizen advice staff to do so through casework, etc. As such, that would mean that particularly young girls and families experiencing domestic violence would benefit, although it would also provide key support to many different women and girls, allowing them to access more financial support, learning about how they could access benefits, constructing debt plans if relevant, and also educating them on their options regarding, for example, housing support and homelessness help. So it would also provide information with charities and support groups as well.
Thank you very much. It's very connected to Shilakshmi's proposal as well, and I'm very happy to see that you have that sort of social empathy to understand what is happening and to give a proposal related to challenges such as housing challenge and homelessness. I do like that you have pointed out that there is something like the citizen advice bureaus that are usually in municipalities and in governmental institutions. And but usually they are understaffed, and yes, they are under budget, like they work on a small budget. Sometimes it also works to raise awareness, and if you, for example, know that these are what are already established, or if you see that they are not established in your area, you might raise it with your MP, you might raise it in like with the local I don't know, with a coordinator, and say that this might need to be done because I see that the young people in my area do suffer from near homelessness, and there is a housing crisis, and they cannot get a house if they don't have, I don't know, tens of credentials, or they don't have X amount of money, or like a percentage which doesn't make sense in this economy. But yeah, it'll be very good, and I do think that there is a lot of position here for also the pro bono institution, that they could get more involved and help you specifically. So thank you very much, Meg. Okay. So we have ended the second day of the Girls Human Rights Hub virtual work experience program. Three days left. I'm very sorry for all the technical issues. I hope that they haven't been too problematic. And as I said, the majority of you, it's fine with the links, but it's just the ones that maybe the Zoom does not recognize as an email, or if there is like an issue, if it goes to spam, definitely like do check. But whoever, like for example, haven't received an email for tomorrow, it should have come, the link for tomorrow's session that we're having, then just drop me an email, and it can be also tomorrow morning. And for whoever has not received an email, I will also send the links for the other 2 sessions, just so you have them at hand. And as said, tomorrow, the 3 next sessions are more technical. They're going to be more legally oriented. So tomorrow we're talking about advocacy and some specific cases. And the next day we're talking about strategic litigation from one of our advisors, and she will go in more depth on case law. And then on the 5th day, we are joined by someone who will talk a bit about working on international girls' human rights. So yeah, for everything, as I said, I will make sure to upload this session on our hub by the end of the day. For everyone who is not able to access the Mighty Network, please drop me an email. If you have any concerns or questions, drop me an email as well. I hope you had a good time. And as I said, feel free to mingle and talk to each other on the Mighty Network. Share your profile, share your everything. I'm going to also add there the speakers. So if you have any specific questions, you can easily talk to them there. Thank you so much for joining. It was a 2-hour session, so I'm very thankful that the majority of you continues to be here. I hope you have a very lovely rest of the day. And as I said, we're doing the session on advocacy today on 3. I will share the link to whoever wants it on the email. Thank you so much. Take care. See you tomorrow.